if we live in the West, listening to our governments, listening to this clown, Netanyahu, unfortunately. But the real story is what I just laid out there.
I think what you mentioned about Ben Gurion Airport is so important. If there were something going on between Israel and Iran, they can hit the Ben Gurion Airport, and you see what is happening. There are a lot of these aircrafts in the Ben Gurion Airport, and they're in the open, and they can hit each and that could be a disaster for Donald Trump if something of that sort happened. So,
I mean, think of how long would it take to deploy 60 air refueling tankers, U.S., that are on the tarmac now, by the way, that are taking up space that would normally be taken up by commercial airlines. That means hundreds, thousands of flights have been canceled. Normal commercial routes have been canceled in order to make space for U.S. military in Ben Gurion. This is what we have seen this week, okay? How long would it take to deploy them in the event of an Iranian missile attack? In order to get the crew ready, unless they're ready to deploy in a moment's notice, they may not be, but let's say they are, about 20 minutes. Well, what's the air flight time from Iran for a missile attack? What are we talking about? 20 minutes? 20, 25 minutes? I mean, it's very similar time frames. So if the Iranians decided that Ben Gurion Airport is the source of a lot of
and
problems.
they don't have, sorry for interrupting, they don't
Yeah.
have the early warning systems they had in the Persian Gulf. They don't know if the missile is coming.
That's right. And a lot of those capabilities have been taken out previously. So that's a huge weakness, very much exposed. It's just not good to have all of your eggs in one basket anyway. But unfortunately, the U.S. doesn't have a lot of options. The Persian Gulf, there is no U.S. deterrence. They're not able to flex in the Middle East the way they have been before. And it's because Iran has shown the world and the region and the world that it is prepared to defend itself and use force against the United States. And they've taken absolutely the best blow, best conventional blows the U.S. has to offer, 100%. And quite frankly, the best conventional blows that Israel has to offer. Iran's taken from both of them. No other country in the world has taken direct, full-blown conventional military force from the U.S. and Israel, but just from the U.S. alone. Russia hasn't had to face that. China's never faced that. There's no country that's faced that and been able to maintain their footing and hit back and inflict severe damage on the U.S. Show me any country in the world that has ever done that since, I don't know, World War II? I suppose Japan could. And on continental Europe, maybe Germany. But that's a long time ago. That's like 80 years ago, right? How about in the last 60 years? How about Vietnam? It's the different story. But in terms of the latest modern iteration of high-tech weaponry and satellite-driven warfare, nobody has. Yeah, we'll put Vietnam in that category, sure. Put Korea in that category. But recently, in the last 40 years, 50 years, nobody. Only Iran. On their feet, hitting back, inflicting damage. So the U.S. is in a very weak position. And here's the main thing that you need to remember, Nima, that everybody needs to remember, is that ask the simple question to any American official. Are you in a better position now in June 2026 than you were on February 27th, 2026? And the answer is, on the political front, on the military front, on the economic front, geopolitically in the region, the answer is no, you're not. So who's winning? I rest my case.
Yeah. And Patrick, do you think that Donald Trump has got to the point that the continuation of the war going to deepen his problems, or he's not there anymore? He's not still there. He's getting there, but he's not still there. What is your assessment of the current situation with the Trump administration, which we know fully influenced by the Zionists in the United States and outside the United States?
I think Trump, among his many faults and among his many problematic characteristics and narcissistic personality disorders, he is a very keen poll watcher. So he does pay attention to the polls, and the polls are very clear. They're very clear on this war, how it's affected the administration, that he is being blamed for the economic deprivation, which is happening and will probably, really spiral out of control in the next couple of weeks, as the U.S. goes into full blown and the world goes into full blown economic down spiraling due to the massive shortages in terms of fuel, energy, jet fuel, petroleum, gas, fertilizer, food crises, food inflation. It's all baked in now. It's inescapable, and he will get blamed for it. He should get blamed for it. Him and Israel should be blamed for all of it, and they will be, and he knows that. So now Trump is in that kind of very unique position where reality has finally come to bear. And now, rather than believing he's going to, snatch victory from the jaws of defeat, he's probably now, I think, more pragmatically looking for ways to cut his losses and go into full-blown spin PR mode to try to manufacture some kind of a victory, symbolic victory, public relation, virtual victory, if you will, and then focus on the domestic political disaster that's coming in the midterms. The polling is devastating for Republicans. They will lose the House and the Senate massively. It's going to be a blowout. If you go by today's polling, okay, it's going to be a blowout. And that's going to be devastating. Already Trump endorsed candidates, be they gubernatorial, other candidates, they're not, some of them have already lost in their primary or their election bids. IPAC-backed candidates, Israeli-backed candidates are losing as well. So it's not looking good. I think the public has come wise. The War Powers resolutions passed in the House this week. So while Thomas Massie was defeated by the Israeli lobby, and they plowed $35 million into pushing him out of the House of Representatives, Thomas Massie's War Powers resolution in the House passed this week. That's a huge victory. That's a first, actually. This has never happened before. Now, the president is not going to be able to veto that because technically it's what they call a concurrent resolution. So I don't think he won't be able to do that. The Senate, however, passed a similar resolution. So that
they want to limit Trump's power regarding the war.
A joint resolution could be vetoed. It's technicality, but the main point is this: is that there were enough Republican rebels to make those majorities happen, and that wasn't even the case 2 months ago. Okay, that's the difference. And if he vetoes a Senate resolution or anything like this, or attempts to, that's going to be a noose around his neck, politically speaking, because it's going to further reinforce the idea that he is a warmongering president, and he's brought all of this economic hardship on America and the world because of his warmongering, basically, and by being a stooge of Netanyahu and the Israeli lobby. And there's no secret now that his administration is owned, operated, and he is an absolute marionette of the Israel lobby and the Israeli billionaire class, led by Mary Madelson and Ronald Lauder and all of the rest of it, and Jeffrey Epstein's still existing puppet strings that still have connections right through the Trump himself and the entire White House and half his cabinet, and a whole bunch of other people that matter. So that's just a reality. Him pushing back against the democratic process in the House or the Senate in terms of restraining the president for carrying on with this open-ended war and all these airstrikes against Iran, that's just further going to tighten the political noose around his own neck, especially coming into the midterms.